Hello, thanks for being with us again. Now, this is Let's Talk. And one of the things really Nigerians have been talking about is the 2013 budget, which was presented by Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan on the 10th of October to a joint session of the National Assembly. Now, the legislators made it immediately clear that they were not going to accept the budget, as it was one of the contentions was that the lawmakers insisted on the $80 per barrel oil benchmark as against Mr. President's proposed $75 oil benchmark. Now, what are the implications of this? What about the different allocations within the budget? Now, these are some of the things that we are going to be addressing in today's discussion today. And to help me do that, I have with me Kenneth Olise. He is a chartered accountant. He is an economist, a business consultant, as well as a public policy analyst. You're welcome to Let's Talk. Welcome. We are looking at resolving controversies in Nigeria's 2013 budget. Now, when Mr. President did make that presentation to a joint session of the National Assembly, he made the presentation of the 2013 budget. What was your immediate reaction when you heard Mr. President make the presentation and all that he said, and the lawmakers' reaction? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks so much. The first thing we have to say here is that one will have to commend Mr. President and the executive, and maybe Nigerians as well, that we are improving, on the complaints we're having over the years about late submission, preparation and submission of the budget. Okay. Now, this year, for 2013, the budget has been submitted in October. I mean, that is early enough, and I can tell you this is the first time that we're having this budget, submitted this early, so that other people can now have input as envisaged by the Constitution. Now, immediately you see that the National Assembly say, look, we are not a mechanical, the Constitution never envisaged the Constitution. So the Constitution never envisaged the National Assembly to be a mechanical rubber stamp of whatever the executive presented. That should not be seen as an antagonistic statement, because truly the Constitution expected that everybody, major stakeholders, should have input into the budget, and it's just a statement of a fact. That doesn't, naturally politicians will always underline such comments and make issues out of them. So I don't think there's much to say that. Now, on the budget as a whole, the last year we had 4.7 trillion. This year we're having 4.9 trillion. Yeah, we are getting used to this national budget template, and format. But one thing that is worrisome is the implementation. If we are beginning to look at 4.7, how much was actually implemented? They are telling you that less than 60% of the former budget was implemented. And that if you are going to do that, you are looking strictly on the capital, because the current, that's the personnel and overhead, would have been implemented 100%. So our problem now is on recurrent. And if you continue to recycle recurrent, it means what you call dynamic immobility. You are moving, you are not moving, you are staying on one spot. You are having the same project recycled because it started this year, it cannot be finished. Next year, it's again the budget, then we are still touting numbers. So the concern mainly is about budget. Now, we begin to look at the budget, and you begin to understand the budget itself. Okay. Budget itself, by principle, is the quantitative expression, of government policy. What government policies are putting monetary expressions to it. Now, what that means is that you now go back and say, look, what is government policy? Now, we are looking at this government having a transformation agenda. Now, this becomes almost nebulous for us to be able to break down into milestones. I said, look, this is what this means. Unlike when we are having like 7-point agenda. Yeah. You understand? So it's okay. The emphasis, when you are having, we know that these are all the responsibilities of government. But government itself is emphasizing on some key elements which they should set out for themselves. But in this case, it's a holistic statement being made. So it becomes difficult for you to break down the budget. I tie them down to specific items as to take the budget principle as it should be.
Okay,
Yes.
we will still get to more of that. Now, we are looking at resolving some of the controversies that have arisen from the 2013 budget, which was presented by Mr. President. Now, before we go to, the different allocations that were made within the budget to various sectors of the country. Yes. What were your views on the insistence of lawmakers that the oil benchmark should be pegged at $80 per barrel as against Mr. President's proposed $75 per barrel?
When you are preparing a budget, the budget itself is assumed on some key assumptions. Now, one of the assumptions this year is that oil being the major, contributor to the revenue you are going to get, is going to be pegged at, it's estimated at 2.53 million barrels per day. Yeah. And it's okay, the executive is saying, look, it's going to be at 75 naira, against other assumptions. Now, this is the one that is contentious. Budget is not forecast. There's a thin line. Budget is that you are just expressing what you hope to get. What you hope to get and what you hope to spend. Okay. Knowing fully well that the future is unknown and it's exposed to a lot of fluctuations. I do not think they should quarrel with it about whether it's 70 or whether it's 80. It shouldn't have constituted a major issue of contestation. Okay. But the underlying fear there is that, suppose you say 5 naira, suppose you say 10 naira, suppose you say 200, suppose you say 180. We have had a situation before in 2007 or 2009 when what was the benchmark what was getting was less than benchmark. Okay. Automatically they had to adjust the budget. Yeah. You have to go through supplementary budget. So somebody should not bother so much, whether it's 70 or 80, okay, where you have opportunity of readjusting the budget, within the time frame. Mm-hmm. However, this is the trapping. When you are talking about budget, you are looking at another issue called the excess crude account. Okay. Now, the excess crude account arises where there's a difference between the benchmark and what is realized. There is no proper guideline on how that is applied. Now this gap of excess crude account arises because what you put as a benchmark is arbitrarily determined. Okay. You understand? So somebody will say, look, let us fight it now, so that the more it is close, the more it's closer, the more they can have revenue, and the market can have something. So if there's a clear-cut trust as to how they're going to do the excess, whatever is going to result as a differential between the benchmark and the actual result, they won't have much problem. But it is there that the federal government says, look, whatever is coming to here, we're taking to sovereign wealth fund. Now, who is going to manage sovereign wealth fund? States are still quite interested, because whatever is, they're all federated revenue. Consolidated revenue. Whatever is coming from here is supposed to be shared by all. But what is now the differential does not come within the template for sharing. Okay. So that's why people are agitated as what should be. Otherwise, if there's a clear guideline as to what will happen in actual and what's going to be to excess or shortfall, there won't have been much suspicion. Everybody will just go. There's this mutual mistrust as what will happen to this differential. Okay. And I'm suspecting that, look, the more this person will lower his hand, the more the excess will come out, for which I will not have control. That is where I think that's where the fears predicated on.
Okay, now still looking at the budget, now the 2013 budget seems to be, or let me say, the lion's share, was allocated to security, followed by education. And but like you said in the beginning, there's still the issue of the recurrent expenditures being more than the capital expenditure. Now, can we say that this is really transformative in the way the allocations were made to different parts of the country? Can we say that the budget as it is?
I'm trying to restrain myself from technicalities, but if you know how budget and budgeting is done, currently, there's what we call the zero-based budgeting. All right. Where in every year you say clean up the slate, begin to justify every figure that accrues to you. So you begin to justify it, and the justification is tied up to the policy objective of the government, which I was telling you before.
Okay.
Now, it is not extrapolation of what they had before. It is not just because of the size of manpower or other things, but it is because of the emphasis that government lays to some certain sectors, so to say, at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
That is what will give rise to others. Now, having said that, when you are talking about security and defense, you must appreciate that for every statement that government makes, carries with it security and defense implication. Whether it's in health, whether it's other. So when people, you see, it's one sector that cuts across. It's at the front, it is at the back. People, okay, we are looking at, you move to a place when there's security, they have to stay there when you have left. So they are there when there's flood, they are there when there's building collapse and all that.
Yeah.
So their job cuts across. So when people now see the kind of number they have, it becomes a decision. But if you are going to correlate it to the last year, and against the background of this business budget I'm telling you, if I that last year they got almost 1 billion, 900 and something. 1 trillion, sorry, 900 and something billion. Because, as I say, it's based on needs assessment. And it came down this year to about 380 something, especially for defense. You find out that, yes, there could be some justified capital acquisition. There's on ship, there's aircraft. You cannot come this year and say, okay, give me another one again. When I have to pay for this aircraft for them to construct and bring in 2 years' time. So you can see the sharp drop in it. So that tells you that it is based on what you're able to justify at a time. And you do not need to emphasize the importance of defense or security. Just like you say, okay, we want to protect your head and all that, because it's given. So if all over the years, you begin to see the lion's share of security, there's no problem. If you even go to America, or other places, sometimes they spend up to 13–15% of their budget on defense and on security. So that is where that one is coming from. Then I think the next to that is education. Yeah. You know that last year we had 6 more universities added, and the deficit the government itself is paying on manpower. So when you see that kind of thing, you can understand, because those 6 universities they built, they are going to have they have need for physical infrastructure. They are going to have need for manpower, especially manpower that need to be trained, so to be able to hold on the institution. So that is where you can see, one begin to see the justification. Now you're looking at health. The health system in this country, we have not fully imbibed this national health insurance, where people you are kind of supporting it. But you do know too that the level of our health care delivery is low, and there may be need for government to invest much in health. That is why it could be in that direction. I must tell you that my worry is on there's an agency or sector, I think that's kind of oversight or less emphasis. We are all just witnessing what this flood, ravaging, the whole, and that means that how much are we paying emphasis? How much emphasis are we paying on our environment? On that. On our environment and ecological condition. Now, if we are experiencing this in the month preceding the time of preparing the budget, I will not say anything on environment, because there's nothing said there as a matter of emphasis on the environment. I don't think that is good enough. Now, if that, again, following up from that, you know that because you have this flood, there's going to be a problem of food. And again, you are leaving 20% on rice import. When you know that for the next 1 year, there's going to be a problem. I can tell you, immediately now, the price of food has doubled or sometimes tripled. This is in this year. By next year, it's going to be terrible. Now, this is not where you will now begin to put levy on importation of rice. I thought you're supposed to enjoy zero-rated tariff.
Okay. Now, a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians don't really understand the workings of the budget, all of the things that go into it and how the figures are being derived. But they see year in, year out, they watch, presidents come forward, make presentations, and for them, they don't really see they don't really see it translating into perhaps infrastructural development or some of the other things that these monies are being, being pegged for. Now, how can this, now what do you think about that, first of all, and then how can that be addressed so that if there is a budget presentation and it said, okay, this and this and this goes for this, education, defense, security, capital spending and all of that, it will actually translate. I'm talking about implementation actually. We will see it being implemented.
This could be very difficult to say, but let me state that in other places, it's because maybe that will take us back to the socio-political configuration of the country, especially the constitution, where you have so many things lumped up for the federal government. It becomes terrible, for you to say that the federal government is sinking borehole in the community. Now, in other places, you may not be seeing so much of federal government presence because some of these powers have been devolved to the state.
To the states.
So, it's the action of the state that's supposed to be seen. You have the local government, the municipals, they call them, or the provinces, that are supposed to be seen. But it's just that the federal government has taken up all the position, including putting signboard for local government. That is why everybody is expecting something from this. Otherwise, when the federal government is getting involved, it's very, very capital national projects, which of course cannot be in all the localities. And that is one of the reasons why we say, okay, let us break down the governance so that some people can go there. By the time you see the federal government is going down to do a borehole, they are going to do little things, then that is where much expression is coming from this. Having said that, the implementation of our budget, I tried, as I said, try to refrain from technicalities, has inbuilt an element of default, that it will not work because of the administrative process. This is how it works. When a budget is announced and approved, we're lucky this year we're starting early. But for other years where we don't start early, maybe the budget is approved in March or April. The Public Procurement Act says that you must advertise for a project at least 90 days in 6 national newspapers. You do that. That takes you to September. The law says that every project not completed by December, the money will come back. So you're leaving the contractors only 3 months to go and do a job that is there for 2 months. Now, when you finish all this, you take it to due process. Due process will come and raise what we call certificate of no objection before they can now award.
Okay.
You get, and when they award, they can only pay you maximum of 15%. So that you see that this has a built-in administrative hindrance on the way.
Okay.
I was thinking that if that is the case, what we'll have done, we'll have done some, pre-cleanup of the projects before they get enter the budget. That is to say, if a federal government is going to put up this and say, okay, we're going to do this next year, it could have been cleared by due process as to the pricing, necessity, needs, assessment, and all that, environmental impact assessment, the drawing, everything that has to do to make this project ready to go. So that by the time it is pronounced, it's all ready for execution. But in fact that sometimes where you have some of the projects not being executed, if you are getting involved in that, you find out that even in the budgeting process, the National Assembly member who are going to maybe initiate this project will just wait at this stage and say, look, there's a road in my place. You come and put it now. That road is supposed to have a design, supposed to have environmental impact assessment. There's supposed to be other technical pre-decisions. So, and it is you only hear in our budget. The ministry will begin to do that. That will take them maybe to the end of the year. So that will become only a virtual project because nobody will begin to construct a road without design. Okay. Nobody can award the contract without design. So I think that we may have to go back by saying that there's a lot of stakeholder participation in the budgeting process, where that everybody will have to do more, do everything they have to do before the project is announced. It's not that it's not that we shoot before aiming. We get the projects done and mentioned first, then we declare for it, we start drawing. That is why, if you remember, some of the independent power projects, the contractors that do the project have not done the site. But all these things would have been done first before the project itself is announced.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask my last question. We've been looking or trying really to resolve some of the controversies that have arisen in Nigeria's 2013 budget. Now, on a final note and in closing, really, what are the things you talked about? Administrative hitches that are within the Constitution that actually hinder the proper implementation. What are some other things and really including, what are some other things that have to happen for us to see a better implementation of not just the 2013 budget, but of any budget that is being read? You know, some people are still complaining about the 2012 budget that wasn't properly implemented and all of that. So what are the things that have to happen, that have to be in place for us to see proper implementation of the budget that will translate to good governance?
Left to me, say for instance, there should not be any capital project in 2014. Let us go on about completing all existing projects, because there are some projects that have been there even for the past 5 years. If we can shut down and bring in capital projects, I'm going to complete. So I begin to lay emphasis in completion, because those projects are going to complete would have gone through all these technical processes. So they don't need to go. If you can rehearse all of them, then you can make sure that those things go in. That budget should be tied for us. You know, we're talking about common man not feeling.
Yes.
Government should be, project should be tied to the reality of time. Our problem today in this country is employment. Okay. Whether you like it or not, is the root cause of everything. Now you begin to look at projects that can generate employment. The president said that what they are going to invest in agriculture is prepared to give them, it's about to give them 35,000 jobs. So 3,500 jobs. So I mean 3.5 million jobs. Then there's another one they are talking about giving them 70 to 110,000 jobs. These are capital projects the government should put, so that when you put the money, people begin to go back to job. I do not see the reason why they cannot take census of all the textile industry, especially in Kano area in the north. And the government can say, okay, I'll take 30% equity, give them money, let them go back to work, so that they can employ people. When people are getting employed, that's when you can see actually what we're talking about this government. Not to put a project that is going to be, one project that is going to complete in 50 years' time, and you cannot see. So in that case, it becomes so much alienated, you know, from the people.
All right, resolving controversies in Nigeria's 2013 budget has been our topic, and I have been talking with Kenneth Olise, who is a chartered accountant. He is also an economist. He's a business consultant as well as a public policy analyst. Thank you so much for coming. We will have more time to talk about this budget because there's so much to talk about. But in the meantime, one thing is clear. The budget has been presented for 2013, but Nigerians want to begin to see its implementation in a way that is going to reflect the reality of the times, and also for people, Nigerians, to actually begin to feel the impact of the budget. And this is where we wrap it up. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being part of today's discussion. And we will be here again tomorrow with another very, very interesting topic that we will be discussing.